The Indy 500 is a very prestigious event. Heck, everyone and their mum has probably heard of it. With such prestigiousness comes stories, some happy and some sad. Today we are going to be discussing an incredible story that occurred only 3 years ago, when a two-time F1 champion failed to qualify for the Indy 500 after being knocked out by the underdog in a sponsorless car. So buckle up, today we're going to have a look at one of my favourite IndyCar underdog stories. I'm going to begin this story in September of 2018, where Fernando Alonso drove his first IndyCar since the 2017 Indy 500, testing an Andretti Autosport car at Barber Motorsports Park. At this point, McLaren was still considering a full-time IndyCar campaign, and had even attempted to sign Scott Dixon and Will Power. However, they decided to stay at Ganassi and Penske respectively. There was concern regarding engine suppliers. Honda and Chevrolet were both skeptical about their ability to provide engines for additional entries, although there were also theories that Honda were reluctant to work with Fernando Alonso again after, referring to it as a GP2 engine probably isn't the best idea if you want to work with them again, eh? There was a potential plan for Alonso to drive a McLaren-entered Andretti-linked car with a Chevrolet engine. However, this never officially surfaced. More complications arose after McLaren CEO Zak Brown announced that the team were not going to consider a full-time IndyCar season in 2019, leaving Alonso slightly stumped. Zak Brown stated that, "We are simply not ready yet, and we are very focused on F1, so we won't be doing that in 2019, which is fair enough. I mean, at this point, there was still struggling for consistent results in F1, so they had to get their priorities straight. However, Zak did leave the door open by stating that they do have a desire to do it in the near future, also mentioning that they would like to take on the Indy 500. And as we all know, they did enter IndyCar in 2020. In the winter of 2018, the Indy 500 decision was sorted. It was agreed that Alonso and McLaren would enter as a single car entry, with a Chevrolet engine. Bob Fernley, the previous deputy team principal at Force India, was hired to lead the Indy 500 project and evaluate, and I quote, longer-term McLaren involvement in IndyCar. This was due to Fernley's previous US racing experience. Gil de Ferran, who was a double Champ Car champion and 2003 Indy 500 winner, also had an important role after he'd worked with Fernando for his 2017 entry. Despite McLaren's intent to use its own staff, they also agreed to collaborate with Carlin. Most European viewers will probably know Carlin as a relatively competitive team in junior Formula. However, for those of you who don't know, they also run an IndyCar team. Not the best IndyCar team by any means, well, actually one of the worst, but hey, any experience is good, right? In April of 2019, Alonso tried the new aero package on an oval for the first time, in a test at Texas Motor Speedway. Since his previous attempts, IndyCar had removed the existence of manufacturer aero kits, ensuring that every car ran simplified equal aero. I mean, look how much better this car looks too. Alonso admitted that it was going to be challenging, because the new cars were far trickier to drive, especially when in dirty air. Furthermore, he was working within the Andretti environment in 2017, whereas this time he had to be a lot more independent. Later that month, Fernando returned to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the rookies test before the iconic month of May. However, Fernando didn't get a great chance to test his machinery due to bad weather and, to rub salt in the wounds, experienced electrical problems during the only green flag running. He only completed 29 laps, which wasn't enough to complete the program. Therefore, he still had to finish it ahead of Indy 500 practice. This was when McLaren realized that the Indy 500 was going to be immensely difficult. CEO Zak Brown admitted that they'd probably gone the hard way about it, and I'd 100% be inclined to agree. Contrary to popular belief, oval racing is difficult and criminally underestimated by Europeans. Furthermore, historically, teams such as Andretti and Penske have failed to qualify, so expecting a brand new solo project to work was incredibly ambitious. However, the team were still aiming to win, and argued that this wasn't out of the picture. Alonso finally completed his rookie course on May the 14th, the first morning of practice. He completed 49 laps and was the 20th fastest with an average speed of 224.162 miles per hour, which was quite a bit off the pace. The fastest lap was set by Ed Carpenter with 228.653 miles per hour in the first session. Another kick in the crotch occurred for McLaren when they experienced more electrical problems, which they would spend the rest of the day repairing. The next day would appear to be more successful. Alonso completed 46 laps in the first hour and a half, however he would crash heavily on his 47th lap.
Oh, dearie me.
Yellow turn 3.
The Spaniard understeered into the turn 3 wall whilst following Graham Rahal, before sliding across the track and impacting the infield barrier. The damage was severe, requiring a hefty amount of effort to repair. This meant that McLaren missed all of Thursday's running due to building up its backup car, which was a Carlin-built chassis rather than the original that the team had been running. Furthermore, Fernando required an engine change due to severe damage that occurred to his previous one. Jeez Louise, Fernando and engines do not mix. Alonso and McLaren made it back to the track for the Fast Friday practice, when turbos are turned up to qualifying specification. He completed 77 laps, which was the most of anyone. However, he was only 24th fastest, which wasn't overly competitive but would have been enough to qualify for the event, had he have done this in qualifying. Almost 2 hours of running was lost due to rain, and a yellow after Kyle Kaiser suffered a large crash, wrecking his Juncos car. Take note of this. At the end of the day, Alonso stated that he was worried ahead of qualifying, but also stated that he believed everyone was, so didn't believe that it was anything out of the ordinary. On the day of qualifying, Alonso was the quickest in the short morning practice session, setting a 228.065 mph average lap, which was positive for the team. Once qualifying arrived, Fernando unfortunately sustained a right rear puncture during his first attempt and had to back off on his last lap of a run that wasn't going too well anyway. That left him 33rd fastest of the 36 drivers. With only the top 30 from Saturday's session guaranteed a place on the grid, Alonso received 4 more attempts later that day. Only the final attempt got the Spaniard into the top 30. However, this wasn't enough after improvements from rivals bumped him down to 31st, 0.02 miles per hour away from Pippa Mann in 30th. This meant that Fernando found himself in last chance qualifying against Max Chilton, Patricio Award, James Hinchcliffe, Sage Karam and Kyle Kaiser. Only 3 of these drivers could qualify for the event and fulfill the final spots on the grid. Alonso couldn't match Arrow driver Hinchcliffe's 227.543 mph, however with a run of 227.353 mph, he comfortably outpaced Max Chilton by a full 1.4 mph, to provisionally put himself 32nd with 3 cars left to run. Right after his qualifying run, Alonso reported that the car felt much better than Saturday, and pundits agreed that he was probably safe given that Award was likely to have similar pace to his teammate Max Chilton. Furthermore, it was unlikely that Kaiser and Juncos would be able to beat Alonso after struggling with pace all month. Sage Karam set a lap of 227.740 miles per hour, which pushed Alonso into the danger zone, being 33rd. This meant that the next 2 cars had to be slower in order for the Spaniard to qualify. Award caused more concern for McLaren since his early laps were very close to Alonso's pace. However, he ended up slower and out of the race. This left Alonso 33rd, with just Kyle Kaiser left. Juncos had spent most of May with a plain white car, following withdrawal of its 2 main sponsors. Furthermore, Kaiser's heavy Friday practice crash put the team's participation in further jeopardy due to a shortage of spares. The team just made it into qualifying, however it appeared incredibly unlikely for the outfit to make the race. Kaiser began his run and defied all expectations by immediately outpacing Alonso. However, he began to lose speed later on the run, narrowing the gap to knockout. Against all odds, Kaiser's pace held up, setting a time that beat Fernando's by 0.019 miles per hour.
Kaiser and Juncos racing are in the Indy500!
A 23-year-old part-timer driving a sponsorless car had made the field for the infamous 500, and the 2-time F1 champion driving for the legendary motorsport outfit McLaren did not. This shocked the world, making for a legendary motorsport story. This was absolutely incredible for Juncos, and despite not performing too well in the actual race, gave them hope looking forward. Ferrari Academy driver Callum Ilott will be driving for Juncos in 2022, as they attempt to make a name for themselves after a financially difficult COVID period. This team is incredibly inspiring, and something for all of us to look up to. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this video exploring a truly great IndyCar story. If you would like to see more of this, please let me know in the comments below, since I quite enjoyed this storytelling format. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, and if you do, I will see you all in the next video. But until then, take care and thank you very much for watching.